Many years ago, I was given a piece of advice about creative writing that always stuck with me. Ask yourself, is this the most interesting part of your characters' lives? If the answer is no, then you're writing about the wrong bit of their lives. We know, for example, that Bilbo probably spent a lot of time dealing with his solicitors to get his will enacted before he left to go and kill a lizard with a bunch of short dudes. And we presume that Harry, Ron and Hermione had the wizarding equivalent of PSHE lessons. Look, my overall point here is that we never needed to see or hear about any of that stuff because it wasn't important to the story. We fill gaps like those in ourselves without thinking about it. Now, sometimes a hyper-detailed story, or one that focuses on the minutiae of life, can be in and of itself fascinating, and not every story has to be a mind-bending intrigue or pulse-pounding action. A good story, well told and well paced, is a good story, regardless of the subject matter. But a good, well told story is one of the most delicate things to craft. The slightest miscalculation in pacing or plot, and things can unravel very quickly. Speaking of, today's game of focus is Spirit of the Isle. Developed by 1 Million Bit Horde and produced by Meta Publishing, Spirit of the Isle was released on the 17th of August 2022 at a price of $19.99, and on the face of it, that's a pretty good price for what you get. And what you get is something between Minecraft, Animal Crossing and a full-time job. The basic premise behind the game is that your character is about to begin their coming-of-age ritual, an old tradition within your family, and it takes you to a distant tropical island that used to be some sort of very popular tourist resort. Your life-affirming task is to help the folks who still live on the island and bring back the good old days. To do this, you'll be using the crafting mechanics central to the gameplay, and these are implemented pretty well. Ingredients are logical, both in their use and where in the world to look for them, which is lucky really because there is, as standard, no real tutorial to speak of, and the amount of stuff you can make is fairly expansive. As you develop and explore the various islands and locations around you, you find new and different ingredients and crafting recipes that expand upon your building prowess, until you can eventually have a pretty high-tech setup in and around your home base, and you can help the locals with pretty much every possible supply need they have. And let's not beat around any proverbial bushes here, that's exactly what you're there to do. I think the reason the tourist attraction failed in the first place is because everyone on the island is incredibly lazy. They have a whole town filled with amenities and clearly skilled people, and yet they ask you to do all the work to make it happen. Clearly these people have never heard the everybody, anybody, somebody and nobody story. I know that life simulators are supposed to have an element of busy work to them, but Spirit of the Isle leans hard into it. It's only fair at this point that I say I didn't enjoy the overall experience of Spirit of the Isle. It's not the kind of game I play. I like Minecraft, but the difference here is that in Minecraft you're only building for yourself. In Spirit of the Isle you're building for someone else, and to bring it back to my opening point about telling the most interesting part of your character's story, a coming-of-age tale, which is what this is, needs to have more going on. I don't mean explosions or action-packed car chases, but something more interesting than, can Mr. Williams have 4 screws and 8 planks of wood by Tuesday? To put it simply, it didn't grab me or interest me enough to keep plugging away at the list of quests which I was given. Of course, you can ignore the quests and simply carry on building and researching in solitude, but that's not really the point of this game. Minecraft doesn't have a story, Spirit of the Isle does, and while it's not the most interesting one for me to follow, it is there, and not playing through it feels like playing Football Manager permanently unemployed. The story is the reason behind you doing what you do in the game. The problem is, the gameplay masks the story behind a seemingly unending to-do list. Now, that all being said, the environments you are asked to explore are very well crafted, and the overall atmosphere and feel of the game are relaxing. It is the kind of game you can turn off with and lose yourself in, only requiring as much thought as you want to put into it. And if you are an enjoyer of Animal Crossing and such things, then you will almost certainly enjoy Spirit of the Isle. There are combat and survival mechanics too, the need to eat, sleep and drink being chief amongst them, and these are implemented reasonably. If you swing something sharp at an aggressive life form well enough for long enough, it will generally fall over before you do, but like all survival crafters, make sure you use the right tool for the job or it will be less effective. And the survival aspects are pretty nicely done too. I like the fact that if you're holding an empty bottle, you can refill your water at lakes and rivers, but apparently the ability to make a campfire and cook, or at least warm your food, is not a necessary survival skill. Say you eat raw vegetables for much of the early game until you can build the correct furnace. In fact, that one brief brush against the crafting system and its inner workings brings me to the one mechanical bugbear I want to bring up before we wind up this review. In most games, when you have a menu system that is formatted as a long list, the cursor follows your movement, so if you move down, the list moves down with you. Not so in Spirit of the Isle. If you move out of the visible section of the list, The cursor just disappears. You have to physically lower the list to see where you've got, which is pretty poor. Menu systems are a kind of staple of game design, and this is the first one I think in my entire gaming history that didn't follow the cursor. At first I thought this was a controller versus keyboard issue, since the game is really quite poorly optimised for controllers. It says it has support for them, but this game was definitely designed around mouse and keyboard, with the controller tacked on as an afterthought. But lo and behold, when I switched to the WASD control method, the menu system was still poorly designed and badly implemented, which for a game involving crafting menus and inventory screens is a bit of a deal breaker. Overall, if you can slog through the poor menus and don't mind doing busy work, then Spirit of the Isle is relatively inoffensive, and there are worse games out there in the life sim genre, but there are certainly better ones too. 4 out of 10. I've been Chris for Invicta magazine, and thank you for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, please do give this video a like and a share. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and keep up with all our latest content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, plus we stream regularly on Twitch, and you can find all those links in the description below along with our website. See you next time. Goodbye for now.